Hi everybody, this is Mike Fifer again. I'm going to show you how I Ballast Kato Unitrack. I hope you enjoy it. Okay everybody, what you need to do this is I've started using the Flo Ko Paint Pens, and I'm using the rail brown color. I started out using the rust color, but I found out that it's a little bit harsh looking, so I've toned it down to the rail brown color. Then for washing the ballast and the track, I use Flo Ko or Polyscale made by Flo Ko, grimy black. This happens to be one of the smaller bottles I got by accident, but I generally have the larger bottles, and I'll show you how to mix that a little later on and use this for your top coat. You'll need a container and I use a brush, about a 1-inch brush here. This is my old standard brush. It's not important because all you're going to do is slop on the black mix. Then I usually have a large butter dish with a baby spoon, which I find real handy for applying the ballast. And I basically just shake it, put it on the edge of the roadbed, and just shake it, and you can get a pretty good stream going. Then once I get all the ballast on, I use an artist's fan brush. I find this brush to be very good for leveling out the ballast because you can actually just lay it on the track and drag it. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to use the Flo Ko Paint Pen. Unfortunately, I already have all this section done, and I don't have an area I can start on this evening to do this, but I'll show you here with a piece that's already done. Basically, it's pretty simple. You just take the Flo Ko pen out, and what I do is I make sure that it's putting out some color, and basically all I do is just run it along the rail. I push in on it to get the paint flowing and just run it along the side of the rail. And there's no need to do both sides of the rail unless you can see both sides of the rail. Just keep that in mind. It saves you a lot on the pen. I probably get about 100 feet of track out of one pen. So it's pretty efficient. And it tones it down quite a bit. And once you're done coloring all the sides of the rail, then you can go and do the black wash, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, I'm ready to show you how to do the black wash. Basically, you take your Polyscale. Grimy black is what I happen to be using. You could probably use some lighter or darker colors depending on what you wanted. Unfortunately, I use the Kato ballast, which is the same color as the original plastic ballast, and it's a good match for the ballast that's on there already. And I prefer a dark ballast, so this is good for me. But I haven't tried any other colors, but I think it would probably work with some other colors, tinting it somewhat into the reddish or mauve colors. Anyway, 1 part paint and then 4 parts water in a dish, however much you think you're going to be able to use. And all you do is get the paint in there, put the 4 parts of water in there, and go ahead and stir this up and get it nice and mixed up. And then I'll show you how to apply. Okay, once you have your mixture mixed up, I'll get the camera pretty close here and show you exactly how I apply it. And as I said, I already have the black applied to this, but you'll get the idea. It's really straightforward. Let's take a look. Okay, on this section here, as you can see, I already have the black on here, like I said, but if this was black paint, basically all I do is just go along and saturate the whole thing like this. And you can see where I've done it before. And this is what you wind up with when you're through. That's pretty simple. Okay, and after you apply the black, once your area is dry, it's time to start spreading the ballast. And I'll show you how to do that here. Okay, you can see here that I've applied a little bit of ballast, and I'll show you how I do that. Basically, I just take the baby spoon and run it along the edge like so. I never put any ballast in the middle of the track because it always winds up getting in there anyway. And you don't want too much in there for sure. But you just try and get it nice and even, just enough to cover the outside of the road bed. Now what I do is I take my fan brush and I come back in here, and the first thing I do is sweep the middle. Until you're pretty satisfied with it. It doesn't have to be perfect because I run my finger down it after it's dry, and it pretty much will take the loose stuff out of here. You just want to get the majority of it out. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. And then what I do on my fan brush is I take and I just put the edge of the fan brush along the edge of the ties, just to get some off the very ends of the ties. And then the last step I use, and the fan brush is good for this, is I lay the fan brush on here without putting hardly any pressure on it at all, and you can see it almost acts like a ballast spreader. It does a real good job of laying down the edge of the ballast. And now you're ready to put glue on, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, in large areas I use the Woodland Scenic sprayer to apply some wet water, and wet water meaning a few drops of dishwashing detergent in your bottle, and you can see that this has some in it. It makes some foam in there. That's what you want. You don't want it to go crazy with foam, but you want it to have a little glycol in there. It allows the water to flow into the ballast. And basically I just take this and wet down the ballast real well, like so. And then I get my, I use Woodland Scenic Cement. I think it's a pretty good product. A little bit expensive. Some of you may want to mix your own water and Elmer's glue, but this happens to be what I use. And basically we just suck up some of this into a children's eyedropper. I use a large children's eyedropper, and I start in the middle of the track, and I just put it in the center of the track, and I allow that to flow out to each side. Once it starts to flow, I run it right on the rail with some of it going to the outside. You can see that the glue is going to the outside. It is washing some of the ballast down the side. If you don't like that, you can come and just put just a hair of ballast back on there, and if you're careful, and it'll look fine. Personally, I don't care if it falls off there, because you have the underlying ballast, that's the plastic textured ballast that's on the existing road bed. At this point, you're pretty much done with the gluing, and you just keep on going. Next thing, I'm going to give you a few precautions when you get to turnouts. Okay, you've seen how I applied the glue. One precaution when you get to turnouts that you need to take care with is not to get any of the ballast down inside of the working mechanism of the turnout. They're pretty resistant to the glue. I wouldn't put glue down inside of it, but as far as putting glue on the road bed, it doesn't seem to seep into the turnout, and all the workings of the turnout are kind of up off the surface. But you don't want to get any ballast down in the turnout, and I'll show you how I get around that. Okay, what I have here is a broken number 4 turnout, or a number 6 turnout rather. If you're familiar with Kato, there's a knob that comes up through here that actually allows you to throw the turnout by hand. What you don't want to do is get ballast down in there and ballast down in this hole right here, because this is where the actuator throws the point. So you don't, no ballast in here and no ballast in here. And what I do when this is laying down is I take a little piece of masking tape, and it doesn't have to be a huge piece, and you can be a lot more careful than this, but I basically put it, you can see the hole, I put it over the hole right down to the surface and just stick it down approximately like that, and then I go ahead and ballast right over it. And when this is drying, after the ballast starts to get dry, when it's medium dry, I basically go in and carefully undo this tape and pull it up like this and push the ballast back away from the slot here, and then I just apply a little more glue around here, not in there, just around here. Okay, and when you get through, what you wind up with is something like this. And after I get done and after this dries, what I'll do is take my same black wash, just like I did before. Obviously this brush doesn't have any black on it, but I would run this along and let the wash flow down into both sides, and it actually just darkens up the ballast to match the color that we have put on the plastic, and it blends it in real nicely. And I'll show you some pictures of track that's already been done that way. Okay, here's a picture of some ballast that I have finished, and you can see what the result is. It turns out pretty good, and from a distance it looks real good. You can't hardly tell that it's Unitrack. That's not really the purpose. The purpose is to really hold the Unitrack down properly and to blend it in, and for aesthetic purposes. But I think the results are pretty good, and I urge you to try and give it a shot. It's not very hard at all. I found it relatively easy once I got started. Well, as you can see, ballasting track isn't very hard, or the Unitrack isn't very hard. I would urge you to try it. If you're afraid to try it on a layout, you may want to just get a piece out and try it on a piece on a regular board and see what you like. Try different colors, different kinds of ballast, and see what you like. Like I said, I haven't tried any other colors of ballast because I'm happy with the dark. But I think it would work equally as well with other colors, you know, like I say, tinting it with a reddish or mauve color. But give it a try. It's not as hard as one would think, and the results are pretty good. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video this evening, and stop back.